The story of this Republican majority has been a story of surrender, a surrender of the Senate's power over to Donald Trump. That's especially true of the nominations process. What's going on right now with nominations is beyond the pale. Donald Trump is nominated as a whole some of the worst, some of the most unqualified, some of the most unscrupulous loyalists ever to serve in the federal government. These nominees are just horrible, one after the other. Just look at the kinds of nominees that have already gone through this chamber and tell me if you think this is normal. That Senate Republicans have already approved anti-vaxxers and pseudoscientists to serve as public health officials to lead American health policy. Not just quacks like RFK Jr., but people like Jay Bhattacharya, who opposed health care guidelines during COVID and policies meant to keep our kids safe in school. Thanks to Republicans, he's now leading America's health care system. God help us. And if Republicans go nuclear, it's going to get even worse. It's insane that Republicans have allowed the Department of Justice to be staffed by Donald Trump's own personal lawyers who prosecute his enemies, exonerate his friends, regardless of the law. It's a disgrace. That's a mark of dictatorship when that happens, when there's no rule of law in prosecutorial agencies.
So let me remind the senator from New York about how the Senate functions, is supposed to function, before he and those with this Trump derangement syndrome have come to the position that the country shouldn't be allowed to function. Senate Democrats have now, under Chuck Schumer, trashed this tradition of the United States Senate. Confirming even the most routine nominees is now a long and bitter fight. From Hamilton's confirmation in 1789 to Schumer's unprecedented, obstinate obstruction going on today, the Senate has gone from speed to stalemate. Prior to the Senator Schumer trying to shut down the Senate and shut down the confirmation process, routine nominees cleared the Senate chamber quickly, by voice vote, by unanimous consent, and often in groups. More than half of every president's nominees were confirmed that way until this year. 90% or more of president nominees were confirmed by voice vote or unanimous consent from the days of George Washington all the way through the presidency of Barack Obama. During President Trump's first term, Democrats cut it down to 65%. Now, during the second term, it is zero. Absolutely zero of President Trump's nominees have been confirmed by unanimous consent or voice vote. Not a single nominee has been confirmed that way since President Trump took office almost 8 months ago. President Trump is the first president in the United States history to not have a single nominee confirmed by voice vote or unanimous consent. Not one. Never happened before in the history of the United States. Maybe Chuck Schumer's proud of that. Maybe he's going to use it around with the Democrats in the far left wing of his party, who continue to be radical, extreme, dangerous, and scary and don't want this country heading in the right direction. But it's a disgrace what he has done to the United States Senate. This is the Schumer confirmation shutdown. He and the Senate Democrats are forcing the Senate to waste hundreds of legislative hours because they have filibustered each and every one of President Trump's nominees, every single one. 109 sub-cabinet nominees have been confirmed this year. Democrats filibustered every one of the 109, and that calls for 2 separate roll call votes with 2 hours in between set aside for debate. Now, of the 109 nominees, in those 2 hours that were set aside for each one of those 109, 81 of them, not a single word was spoken by the Democrats on the floor about any of them. Chuck Schumer just came to the floor and he said something. He said, these nominees are not qualified. They didn't say anything about when any of these 81 actually came to the Senate floor, when we voted through cloture and then waited 2 hours for the Democrats. They talked about other things. They didn't talk about the nominees. If they're so bad, why didn't they talk about them? The average amount of time on all of these sub-cabinet nominees spent by the Democrats, 2 minutes and 12 seconds. 81 of them, they said nothing. Only 7 of them did they talk about for more than 10 minutes. If they're so bad, why aren't they talking about them? Because these people are qualified. But they were delayed for no reason other than the Trump derangement syndrome.